About a year ago, I met someone that I fell in love with. Now, I am not a gooey person, and um, I actually find it hard to not talk about this in like a gooey sort of way, which is wild because really that's not who I am. But I remember the first time that we met, we kind of just wandered through a city, went to a museum, and I just fell in love watching her explain different pieces of art to me and just talking about the things that she loved. We actually walked around that city so much that our feet ended up bleeding because of it, which maybe isn't the most romantic thing, but I remember it so well. It was one of the best days of my entire life. And we had a part, and things did not work out, which, oh, it's devastating. One of the biggest regrets of my life, if not the biggest. And I think sometimes it's easy to feel like you lose hope in those moments. And I get reminded a lot of one of my favorite speeches in a show. It's by the hot priest in the show Fleabag, where he talks about how love is like, a terrible thing because it makes you do really irrational things. But then he says love isn't for the weak. Love isn't something weak people do. It's something for strong people because it takes a hell of a lot of hope. And then he says, I think what they mean is when you find somebody that you love, it feels like hope. And that was what that felt like. And I think a lot of us have experienced that. I think all of us, to be honest, have experienced something like that. Where you meet someone, or even like something as simple as you get a new job and you start to feel hope because you've been looking for that job for so long. Or you've been like looking for that dream that you've had for so long. And when it comes to fruition, it feels incredible. And particularly with this person, I remember one of the first times I felt this, just a brimming of hope within you. And it's hard to, talk about this because that hope got shattered, and all of us have experienced heartbreak in that way, where you begin to feel hope for a person. You begin to feel like this might be, the thing that works out, and then it doesn't. And then that cloud that you're on just shatters, or I don't know if a cloud can shatter, but you fall right through it and you fall right back down to earth, and it's painful. And there is a line from Lord of the Rings that I think really kind of gave me a good perspective on this, about not losing hope in those moments. Because I think one of the easiest things to do is to do what the Brits do in their beloved soccer, which is they say it's the hope that kills. And this was a quote in one of my favorite shows, Ted Lasso, about how sometimes when you hope, that's the worst thing that you can do, because it's when you hope that you'll be most disappointed. And if you don't hope in something, then you will never be disappointed because you won't be looking forward to something or anticipating something. And so I am a New York Jets fan, and I know all about that. And that anytime you hope in the team, they always disappoint you, which is a bit sad. But I think that's a response that a lot of people have when you're going through something like that, where you don't want to hope again. You just want to kind of curl up into a ball and not feel that pain again, because it's the hope that you felt, the love that you felt, that ended up really hurting you and was really painful. And this line in Lord of the Rings, there's two really good lines that I want to talk about. One is from Baragond. Well, it's a conversation between this character, Baragond, who isn't in the movie at all. He is, some people say that he's this character or this character, but he's better in the book than both of those characters by far. He's one of my favorite side characters in the book. And it's a conversation he has with Pippin after Pippin pledges his loyalty to Gondor. And they're talking about how there is an impending darkness coming in Mordor, and how it's so easy to lose hope in these moments. And I just want to read this because this is such a beautiful section of these two talking about things. And I think there's two sections in here, one that Baragond says, and then one that Pippin says, that really for me kind of help me and put things into like more of a hopeful state. It kind of realigns me a bit. This is what the book says. This is a great war. long planned, and we are but one piece in it. Whatever pride may say, things move in the east, beyond the inland sea, it is reported, and north in Mirkwood and beyond, and south in Harad. And now all realms shall be put to the test, to stand or fall under the shadow. Yet, Master Peregrine, and this is one of my favorite quotes of his, we have this honor, ever we bear the brunt of the chief hatred of the Dark Lord. For that hatred comes down out of the depths of time and over the deeps of the sea. Here will the hammer stroke fall hardest. And for that reason Mithrandir came hither in such haste. For if we fall, who shall stand? And Master Peregrine, do you see any hope that we shall stand? And I'm going to read his response in a second. But I love this so much because he calls it a privilege to fight against evil and to fight against Mordor in this moment. I think sometimes we think that these things, that these battles that we have to face, we're exhausted by them, and we see them more as a duty than an honor and a privilege. And I love Baragon's words there, but I think I love Pippin's maybe a little bit more. And then Baragon actually says a really good thing at the end, but this is what it says. Pippin did not answer. He looked at the great walls, and the towers and brave banners, and the sun in the high sky, and then at the gathering gloom in the east, and he thought of the long fingers of that shadow, of the orcs in the woods and the mountains, the treason of Isengard, the birds of evil eye, and the black riders even in the lanes of Shire, and of the winged terror, the Nazgul. He shuddered, and hope seemed to wither. And then a few paragraphs later it says, for a time they sat together with bowed heads, and did not speak. Then suddenly Pippin looked up and saw that the sun was still shining, and the banners still streaming in the breeze. He shook himself. It is past, he said. No, my heart will not yet despair. Gandalf fell and has returned and is with us. We may stand, if only on one leg, or at least be left still upon our knees. Rightly said, cried Baragon, rising and striding to and fro. Nay, though all things must come utterly to an end in time, Gondor shall not perish. Not though the walls be taken by a reckless foe that will build a hill of carrion before them. There are still other fastnesses, and secret ways of escape into the mountains. Hope and memory shall live in some hidden valley where the grass is green. I think that is so beautiful. Both Pippin and Baragon. Pippin says things are overwhelming. Darkness seems to be overtaking us. Yet he says, my heart will not yet despair. We may stand if only on one leg, or at least be left still upon our knees. And I love this last thing that Baragon says. Hope and memory shall live still in some hidden valley where the grass is green. And again, I think it's easy to lose hope in moments like that. But just as Andy Dufresne says, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing should die. And so I think this little section has really helped me kind of get through some of the pain that I'm going through. This whole book has been incredible as I'm reading it kind of for the first time and just talking about it. Because there's so many profound things that show how well J.R.R. Tolkien understood human psyche and human psychology. And how well he understood that this losing of hope is one of the most dangerous things that you can do. And that in spite of all these things that you have to deal with, in spite of losing hope, maybe you lost someone that you love, maybe physically, maybe someone that you know died and that you really love that person. Maybe you lost your job, maybe, whatever it might be. I think one of the most dangerous things that you can do is lose hope. And I love Pippin's line that no matter what happens, he is going to continue to fight. And I love Baragon's line that still hope and memory shall live in some hidden valley where the grass is green. Hmm.